Ryan Coogler signs on to write and direct Black Panther sequel, and James Gunn's Suicide Squad 2 could be a complete reboot. That's coming up next on Movie Burner News. And just like box office chat yesterday, sadly I'm on my lonesome today, and I'm going to be discussing a whole variety of different topics. But as I did say, Ryan Coogler signed on to write and direct the Black Panther sequel. This was news that dropped late last week, and it's news that's not hugely surprising, if we're being honest here. A film which grossed $1.3 billion worldwide, over $700 million domestically in the United States, was always going to get its own sequel. This is a major part of the MCU now. The character of Black Panther, the story, the setting of Wakanda, a magical, incredible setting, unlike anything I've ever seen in a Marvel film. It really brought me into the world, their culture, their ways of life, their values, and just the incredible technology they harness, and obviously the vibranium. So it was an incredibly magical experience getting thrust into Wakanda for the first time. As someone who hasn't read the comic book runs, I know it's a fairly B-level comic book run. It's not one that's been a major player in terms of Marvel's other A-list guys like Iron Man, Spider-Man, so on and so forth. But just to see it get its own time to live and breathe and set up its own world in the first Black Panther film was magical, and I'm absolutely not surprised that it's getting a sequel, nor am I surprised that Ryan Coogler is coming on to write and direct it. This guy was a big reason for the success of the first Black Panther film. He's just an incredibly talented writer, director, producer, man in general. Obviously I followed his career from all the way back in 2013 with Fruitvale Station. He worked with Michael B. Jordan in that. He's worked with Michael B. Jordan in Creed. I believe he's produced and wrote Creed 2, starring Michael B. Jordan. And Michael B. Jordan was also involved in Black Panther as well, to good effect, as arguably one of the greatest villains we've seen, the most multi-layered and complex villains we've seen in an MCU film to date. And that was down to this amazing relationship that's just powered both guys' careers onwards and upwards. So we sadly ain't going to get to see Michael B. Jordan in the new Black Panther film, but we are going to see Ryan Coogler writing and directing, and it's not a surprise. What a cultural zeitgeist moment this was for the black community, getting a nigh on entirely African American cast and a great story with wonderful characters, and we're going to see them all again. Now, this was from the Hollywood Reporter. They broke this news. It was an exclusive, and apparently the filmmaker came to a deal. He quietly closed a deal to write and direct a sequel, and it's clear that this has maybe been done over the last month or so, and they've just been waiting for the right time to slip it out. Timing is key after all, and they wouldn't have wanted to have really it into the whole Ant-Man and the Wasp cinematic run, but it's done and dusted. Stint at the box office is over, and now they're releasing more news about the forthcoming fourth phase of the MCU, because we're going to have to start discussing that sooner rather than later, because obviously we're getting Avengers 4 early next year, Captain Marvel, and we're going to have to see these new stories being introduced to new films. We've got the new Spider-Man film as well, and now we're getting a Black Panther 2, and I just cannot wait to see where it takes the story now, because we have been to Wakanda, we've seen most of that film set there, we've seen a large chunk of Infinity War set there. Is he going to continue to go to Wakanda for this second film, or is he going to take roots and go somewhere else in the world? Of course, we had that moment where he went to Korea, I believe. Are we going to get to see him going over to the United States now, working in tandem with all the other Avengers? Is he going to be taking over the mantle for Iron Man? Because I firmly believe Tony Stark will bite the dust in Avengers 4. There's going to be a whole host of original guys that have spearheaded and really been the prominent figures in the MCU for nigh on a decade. They're going to be biting the dust. They're going to have to hand the reins of power over to a new generation of characters, and I think it's absolutely clear that Black Panther, aka T'Challa, is one of those guys that's going to step in to the roles of an Iron Man, Tony Stark figure, and be one of the prominent figures going forward. Chris Evans is apparently leaving, and that will obviously open up his role to maybe be getting passed over to Bucky. So we're going to see a new generation going forward, Captain Marvel stepping in, and obviously we don't know much about the actual script. He's not wrote it yet, he's just stepped on to write and direct it, but The rumours are that the production will begin either late 2019 to early 2020, so he's got round about a year to get this script penned before it goes into production. He's a very busy man, of course. He is stepping in and being involved with Wrong Answer as well, an intriguing little film based on Atlanta, a place very close to his heart, of course. And apparently he's executive producing LeBron James's Space Jam sequel too, so he's a busy man, and I know he'll get it right. But in terms of just what direction it could go, there's a very intriguing article also from Hollywood Reporter discussing where they could go and why it is so hard to predict, and that indeed it may be one of the most mysterious Marvel films of the upcoming new slate of films. Obviously T'Challa was wiped out in the click by Thanos, and that opens up a whole range of possibilities of who's coming back, who's not coming back. T'Challa obviously will be coming back. He's going to be a main figure going forward. I think most of the people who were finger clicked will be back. And they do go on to say in this article that there is no definitive Black Panther comic book canon, because despite it being a character which has been in existence for more than half a century, who has appeared in a number of enjoyable comic book runs, not least of all the current incarnation of the series, which is apparently written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, they do say that the lineage of a character is anything but straightforward, with the tone and the secondary genre oscillating wildly all over the place, with different creators getting a hold of a character and taking it off in different directions. They say he goes from fighting white supremacists to a bold adventurer fighting yetis and samurai alike, to turning him into a superior strategist who's outthinking the likes of Tony Stark. So there's a whole array of different directions you could really take this character and the story. And in any event, they do go on to say in this interesting little article that they don't follow the comic books anyway in the cinematic mythology, because apparently they've killed off Ulysses Claw, which didn't happen in the original comic book run. And the first movie reinvented three of the heroes' biggest villains anyway, altering them from their various different original forms. So where it's going to go after this is really unknown at this moment, but I have complete confidence in Ryan Coogler getting the story done, getting it right, and propelling this off into another massive box office juggernaut. Because one thing's for sure, as I did say at the start, Black Panther and T'Challa is one of the main players now in the MCU going forward, one of the biggest stars with comic book fans and non-comic book fans alike. They've reinvented this character from a B star in the comics to a very much an A+ star in the cinematic universe. But I digress. I'm going to quickly jump onto another little article connecting into Black Panther and indeed Avengers Infinity War, and it's all about Disney submitting Black Panther for 16 Oscars, whilst apparently snubbing Infinity War, submitting it for just 1. This is from The Express, and it says Hollywood studios have started touting their films with For Your Consideration campaigns aimed at the Academy ahead of the 2019 awards ceremony next February. And there's already some shocks, as I did say. They seem to be pushing Black Panther ahead of Infinity War, and there's been a lot of consternation at this. A lot of people think it's a cynical move by the company, the studio, with it also being a cultural zeitgeist and a very multicultural background in comparison to the all-encompassing culminative story that was Infinity War. Me personally, I'm not too fussed about this either way. I thoroughly enjoyed Black Panther and Infinity War. I thought they were both very strong films, two outstanding Marvel films, and just films in general. As a cumulative story, bringing 10 years of hard work to an end, I thought Infinity War was an incredible watch, nearly 3 hours long, thoroughly enjoyable, just a mismatch of about 50 million superheroes, and the way they brought them all in an organic manner, whilst not affecting the story, and just really bring it all to a rip-roaring finish with Thanos' finger click. I thought that was a fantastic piece of filmmaking from the Russo brothers. As I have said, I'm a massive fan of Ryan Coogler. I've been gushing over the chat for the last 10 minutes, and I'm not overly dismayed at the thought of him having this film pushed forward ahead of Infinity War. As we do know, the Academy like to vote for films of this nature over the big swashbuckling visual extravaganzas that are the Avengers films. They do tend to like the more introspective and quieter films, and certainly Black Panther was a slightly different take for an MCU film. Much more quieter, character-driven, introspective affair. Very much a character study in many ways of T'Challa and Killmonger, who was a fantastic villain. The only thing I would say is I am slightly surprised at them pushing Black Panther ahead of Infinity War in terms of the technical departments, like visuals and stuff. The latter was undoubtedly a vastly superior film in terms of visuals, but all in all, I don't think this is all that controversial or surprising. I do feel like, in terms of cinematic art and experiences and stories, they're very even affairs. Two fantastic films, both tore up the box office and both received huge critical acclaim. So all in all, ain't surprised, ain't dismayed, and I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is all about James Gunn's Suicide Squad potentially being a complete reboot. Of course, it was announced last week via DC Daily, a web series of Warner Brothers, that James Gunn would be switching from Disney Marvel to DC. He's going to be stepping in and writing at least Suicide Squad. Whether he directs or not has not been revealed as of yet. Of course, the first film was written and directed by David Ayer. A very mixed bag, and in some circles, the laughingstock of a film. Personally, I thoroughly enjoyed it for some parts. Other parts I thought were utter shite. I thought the villain was lacklustre. The story was a bit muddled. But there were some great performances from Will Smith and Margot Robbie in there. In terms of whether this would be good news, a completely fresh take on the franchise, as DC Daily put it, I'm not too sure. I don't see how you could do a Suicide Squad film now, call it Suicide Squad 2, if indeed it is going to be called Suicide Squad 2, and not have Margot Robbie or Will Smith's Deadshot in there. It would be jarring, to say the least, and I don't think it would work. Certainly when you have Birds of Prey and Margot Robbie doing that on the side and potentially keeping the DCEU going in its current form, it just wouldn't work. A fresh retake, but this could once again be further fuel to the fire of what we were discussing a couple of weeks ago, in that DC may well indeed be doing something completely different now. They may be discarding the DCEU in its current form, deciding to instead focus on standalone films, standalone self-contained stories, see if they stick, see if they connect with audiences, see which one works and what doesn't, and then they'll take it from there whether they want to continue with an extended, expanded universe. Who knows? But one thing's for sure, it's a great decision to bring James Gunn on board to DC to write this film and indeed potentially direct it. The man crafted an absolutely magnificent mini franchise within the franchise, the wider, grander franchise as MCU, with Guardians of the Galaxy. The first one was one of my favourite MCU films. The second one was still good, but not quite to the levels of the original. And it, of course, focused on a ragtag group of individual, interesting characters who banded together and became greater than the sum of their parts. It was about friendship and righting the wrongs and redeeming yourself as individuals. And what better a setting to do that than Suicide Squad, a ragtag group of criminals and wrongians banding together and sharing a common goal and doing some good for a change. And I think he's the perfect choice to come in and write it, and I think he'd be the perfect choice to come in and direct it. And if this works, this is a guy who could maybe step into the role of Zack Snyder and maybe start crafting and working magic with various different projects and films within this expanded universe, if indeed they want to continue on with an expanded universe. But just getting back to that headline one last time, in terms of it being potentially a reboot, I don't see that being the case. I think it was just the way it was spouted out. It wasn't written in an official release. It was spoken on video via DC Daily, and I really can't see any way in which they create a new Suicide Squad film and don't bring back Margot Robbie and Will Smith, two of the standout players. Will Smith, a massive box office draw, an A-list actor, immensely likeable guy with a huge fan base, and Margot Robbie, whose career is on a huge upward trajectory. So if they are keeping the DCEU in its current form, then they absolutely have to keep those two characters at a minimum. But that will move me on to my next little interconnected topic, which connects into this one very nicely, and it's all about James Gunn again, and potentially Jared Leto not starring in a new Suicide Squad film if James Gunn does come on board to direct. Apparently there has been beef between these two going back a number of years on social media, where James Gunn, that is, accused Jared Leto of being a paedophile. And this is something that's been going on for a number of years. Even as recently as this year, in May this year, Dylan Sprouse posted on Twitter, "Yo, Jared Leto, now that you've slid into the DMs of every female model aged 18 to 25, what would you say your success rate is? And apparently James Gunn, well, not apparently about it, he did. He replied and says he starts at 18 on the internet, ? So there's been much hinting at Jared Leto being a paedophile from James Gunn. The two don't get on, they don't speak. And who would blame Jared for not speaking to James Gunn, calling him a paedophile? I think that's a bit harsh. I don't think that's true, although I don't know Jared, so can't say with any degree of certainty, but I think it's very unlikely. And I wouldn't blame him one bit if he didn't want to come on board and work under a man who's been making some lewd and crass and defamatory remarks about his character. In terms of the actual character itself, the Joker, though, I wouldn't want to see it in a Suicide Squad sequel anyway. I thought the whole sequence with him in the original Suicide Squad just felt wrong. It felt superfluous to the story. There was no need for the character. He ended up being a romantic side plot to Harley Quinn, totally watered down. It wasn't a good or memorable part of that film for me, and I would not want to see him popping back up in a Suicide Squad 2. I see no reason for him to pop back up. He's getting his own story. There's potentially a Joker Harley Quinn film being made as well. I read something about the screenwriters Glenn Ficarra and John Requia finishing a script on that film, so let this Suicide Squad film do its own thing, stand on its own legs. We don't need to see Joker coming into this. We don't need to see Jared Leto's Joker coming into this. He has his own side story coming. We've got a standalone 1980s Joker film starring Joaquin Phoenix coming. So completely understand he doesn't want to work for this guy after the remarks he's made about him. Can't blame him at all. There's beef between the two. That's absolutely fine, and I wouldn't want to see the character in the film anyway, so all's well for me. But I'm going to move on very quickly, because that was getting interesting in a not a good way, to the next topic. And it's all about the Pet Sematary trailer, which of course dropped last week. It was a very intriguing trailer for someone like me who hasn't seen the original, who hasn't read the Stephen King novel. I found it very intriguing indeed. Just the way in which it opened up to a fairly normal setting of this family moving into a new environment, a new house. We see Jason Clarke's Lewis character, an emergency room doctor, starting a new job. He's a very logical guy that likes to look for a reason or a logic in everything that happens around about him. If he can understand it, he can effectively control it. His young family move in. The first scare we get in the trailer is really a truck, a big 18-wheeler truck, driving by, ominously by, on this incredibly busy road and a strangely very rural and quiet looking area. We have this ridiculously busy road, but it starts off very normal. Family move in, all's well in the world. They even have a cat, I believe. They form a little bond with the loner of an old neighbour next door, Jude Crandall, played by John Lithgow, a man of legends and stories who knows the land and the lay of the woods and the cemetery better than anybody else. He's coming at things in life from a completely different perspective than Lewis. And he really starts narrating the story as the trailer expands out and fleshes out, and we start seeing things taking a darker turn. He's talking about sometimes dead is better. We see the odd sight of these young children masquerading about with these horrendous looking animalistic masks on. It looks like the strange masks, doctors' masks that were worn in the, I want to say, Renaissance era of Italy. Very, very creepy looking. Certainly seeing young children jumping around with these horrendous looking masks on. They're doing it at night as well. They're walking about the woods. It's like a funeral procession. We see Judd standing in the midst of a cemetery in the middle of the woods, and all is not well at this point in the trailer. It takes a dive into complete madness and darkness, foggy settings. We're seeing figures standing in the background, the family going to bury a cat, and then it's back again looking very demonic, very possessed, and very unhappy and spitting. I wouldn't mess with that cat, not for anything in the bloody world. The young children can sense the danger. You can see the toddler looking over his mother's shoulders with very wide eyes. And who would blame him? Because there's a bloody figure behind him at this moment in the trailer. Very creepy in its implementation, very atmospheric. And we really do get a sense from this trailer of the inherent dangers that are going to be plaguing this young family that have moved in here. There's a moment on a bed where we see muddy feet, a flash of muddy feet. I don't know whether it's Lewis's feet. He's been out wandering. Potentially has, I don't know, because I haven't seen the original film. But I think it's fair to assume that most of these characters ain't going to meet particularly nice endings in this film if the trailer's anything to go by. I think the cat will be just about fine though. But apparently it's a very faithful interpretation of the Stephen King novel. Apparently some of the things that are going on in it are faithful to the novel. So that intrigues me first and foremost. I'm happy to see this remaining faithful to King's novel. He's a fantastic writer, one of the all-time great horror writers. So if you stay true to his events he's put on paper, then you're going to get something very special. And indeed, apparently it's the figure of Judd who turns into a sort of surrogate father, grandfather figure to the Creed family, and regains his sense of companionship when they move in, wants to keep them happy, and it's him and inadvertently brings back the cat. But that leads to a greater, more unspeakable loss, and we do see that. We see a funeral scene at one point. All in all, though, I thoroughly enjoyed this trailer. I thought it was a fantastic trailer. It was fantastically crafted. There was a lot of scary moments in there, very dark, very atmospheric, and it looks very promising indeed. And there's an incredibly creepy shot of a figure standing in the middle of the woods. I don't know whether it's Lewis or not. I get the sense it is Jason Clarke. I cannot wait to see this film. As someone who hasn't seen the original, combination of photos we've seen, casting decisions, and just this trailer being the icing on the cake has got me completely up for this, and my anticipation is at boiling point, and I cannot wait to go along and watch it. It should be very interesting indeed in this renaissance of Stephen King's novels getting the adaptation treatment. But I'm going to move on and stay on the same kind of subject with another trailer discussion, and it's Aladdin this time. The trailer for the new live action remake dropped last week, and it was intriguing. It was a short little trailer, only 1 minute and 38 minutes long, but there's a very cool article from IGN breaking down the trailer shot for shot and showing the similarities between this and the classic cartoon animated one from back in the day. And it really does draw directly from the original Aladdin film. We've seen this before, most notably with Beauty and the Beast last year, where it was essentially a shot-for-shot remake, albeit live action, and a concoction of animated stuff going on in there as well, much like the Paddington series and a whole host of other animated films over the last couple of years. It's something that's been done very well in other franchises, and Disney, for one, have definitely shown they have the capabilities to recreate a classic animated films in this form. This trailer itself, I thought it was absolutely beautiful, stunning. We start with a desert setting, mimics the original. Absolutely amazing sweeping vista shot of the Arabian desert with a caravan of travellers in the distance making their way through the sun to an orchestral version of Arabian Nights. Beautiful start to the trailer, first and foremost. And we can see that there's a couple of little things getting tweaked here as well. In the original one, it was a lonesome traveller called the Peddler. In this one, there's a group. And we did see that in Beauty and the Beast as well. There was a couple of things sorted out, a couple of little spoofs and goofs that they'd made mistakes of, how she got the beast onto the horse and back to the castle. Stuff like that they sorted out, and it seems like they're doing this here as well. We do see Agrabah as well, if that's how the hell we pronounce it. And it looks much better than the original. Looks a bigger setting, a bigger, busier, more bustling city. The fabled city of Agrabah. And it does closer mimic it though, in terms of shot-for-shot remake. It's a similar concept. We see a wide shot, landscape shot of a city, but it looks much more realistic, as you'd expect. It's live action. Then it moves on to the Cave of Wonders, of course one of the main focal points in this short little trailer. Again, another amazing wide vista shot. There's a lot of that in this. It's a beautifully crafted film already. I can see Aladdin seemingly enters the cave just like he did in the original film, and we do see an amazing shot of all this treasure trove and a wide array of fantastical shiny objects kicking around in this big towering cave, just like the original. There's a bit of a theme growing here. It's a shot-for-shot remake. Clearly, Aladdin pops up. We see a brief glimpse of him reaching out for the infamous lamp and prepares to free the genie within. Sadly though, we don't get to see Will Smith's version of the genie quite yet, which I think was a smart move from Disney. You keep the anticipation building slowly. There's plenty of time for this. Film doesn't come out till next year, and we can wait to see Will Smith's take on the character, and I'm sure it'll be absolutely fantastic, and it'll do the Robin Williams version from the animated film from the 90s, Justice. Final thing I will say on this trailer, just getting back to what I said before, it's absolutely stunningly put together. It's amazing visual effects. We've seen this before, time and again with Disney. They know how to create cartoon animated films back in the day, stemming all the way back to the 1950s and 60s. and they know how to do the combination of live action and animated films these days as well. We've seen it with the Disney Pixar stuff, Coco, Incredibles, and more recently we've seen it with Beauty and the Beast and also this, and we're getting Lion King next year as well. So it's a fantastic period to be alive for fans of Disney animated films, because we're getting to see all of these things being reimagined for a new era of young audience members and older audience members alike. Like me, I went to see Beauty and the Beast in the cinema last year, and I'm sure I'll be there next year to watch Aladdin and The Lion King. But I'm going to move on to a short little topic here, and it's all about Rambo 5. We have spoken about this film before on previous Movie Burner podcasts and Movie Burner news as well. And it's all about Rambo 5, finding a villain. The role is going to Sergio Perez Mencheta, a man who has starred in the likes of Resident Evil, Afterlife, Life Itself, and an FX series, Snowfall. He's a well-versed guy. He's been a busy boy. I'd not seen much of his stuff, but he was born in Madrid, Spain. And of course, Rambo 5 is going to be set in a sort of Sicario-style cross-border story. Rambo's going to be going across to the Mexican border and try to deal with cartels, stealing and kidnapping young children, families and stuff like that. He's going to be going on the rampage. And Perez Mencheta, being a Spaniard, is perfectly capable of stepping into the role of the cartel leader Hugo Martinez. Paz Vega apparently has a role too, as a reporter who covers a Mexican drug trade and teams up with Rambo after her half-sister is kidnapped. So we're starting to see news of this film coming together. We know that Adrian Grunberg is directing it. We spoke about that before. We know that there's a script by Matt Chirlnick, and Stallone is starring in it, obviously, as John Rambo himself. It's an intriguing film. Can't wait to see what he does with this. I can't wait to see what Matt Grunberg does with it. People slagged the previous Rambo to hell. I thought it was a decent little story, very gritty, very dark, a very accurate telling of war and the brutalities and the killing and stuff like that. It was just churning people down at wall at certain points in that film, and I'm pretty sure this will be the same. And it's great to see that we're starting to get more and more casting news coming out, and we have got a main villain, someone stupid enough to go up against Rambo, and it's Sergio Perez Mencheta. But I digress. It was a short little story. Ain't going to linger on it too long because I ain't got much more to add other than that. And I'm going to move on to the final movie topic of this week's Movie Burner news, and it's again going to be a short and sweet one. It's all about Bohemian Rhapsody potentially rocking up to the box office with a $30 million opening weekend. This is, of course, Fox's Freddie Mercury biopic, Bohemian Rhapsody. It's opening very shortly, November 2nd and 4th. It's just a couple of weeks away. And it's tracking to open as high as $30 million in the United States, which would be very impressive indeed. Of course, stars Rami Malek, the Mr. Robot star, and he also starred in The Pacific as well, which is where I know him well from. Fantastic actor. Very excited to see what he's going to be bringing to this role as Freddie Mercury. We've seen the trailers, and it looks like a close resemblance to the man himself. Looks like it's a very enthusiastic and physical portrayal of the character. He's getting in and about the stage like the real man. And by all accounts, there was a lot of criticisms of this film, a lot of criticisms of the teaser trailer, where they says they were shying away from the sexuality issue of him, of course, being an openly bisexual man. Of course, who died of AIDS. And it was nice to see I read Rami Malek talking about this and addressing the matter a month or so back, where he says people need to stop reading into things too much, that it was only a minute-long trailer, and that you need to remember that they can't give the whole story away, and that they do it justice. You can't tell a story of Freddie Mercury and Queen without addressing some of the elephants in the room. This, to me, is great news. I spoke about it yesterday on Box Office Chat when I was discussing A Star Is Born, that a lot of the early critical feedback and reviews and first thoughts on this film are hugely positive and promising. A lot of people are saying it's one of the best musical biopic films they've seen in a number of years, that it's indeed better than A Star Is Born. Whether that is the case will remain to be seen. Whether I feel that is the case will certainly remain to be seen, but I will definitely be going to watch this film regardless. An opening, they say, on Variety, of more than $26 million for Bohemian Rhapsody would give it the second highest music biopic opening ever, after a $60 million opening weekend in 2015 for Straight Outta Compton, which was another incredible film. Tupac Shakur's biopic All Eyes on Me apparently opened to $26.4 million in 2017, and I enjoyed that one as well. So you see, there's a bit of a theme developing here. I'm a little bit biased. I like my music biopics, if they're done right, and by all accounts this is done right. So all in all, very intrigued by this news, very intrigued to see the critical response coming in, the early feedback, and just the fact that it is tracking to be an absolute monster at the box office as well. Hopefully it does well, hopefully Rami Malek gets some Oscar buzz, because he's a man I've watched for a number of years. I think he's a great actor, and hopefully people connect with it, and it's a very good film. Time will tell. But I'm going to move on to the final part of this week's show, and it's of course the poll of the week thing that we started a couple of weeks ago, where we put a poll on Twitter and let it sit for a week, and then we discuss the various different films and the winner of the poll on our show every week. And this week's poll was a fairly simple question: which one of these 4 noughties comedies or 2000s comedies is the best? And the 4 selections were 40-Year-Old Virgin from 2005, Anchorman from 2004, Superbad from 2007, and Step Brothers from 2008. This poll got around 700 votes, and the winner was Anchorman from 2004. It was a very close poll, had great feedback, and again we're immensely grateful for people getting involved in this and adding replies and discussions, putting forward suggestions for films that weren't there. Sadly you only have 4 options and a 25 character limit, so you are restricted in a way with what you can put in. We'd love to put in a 10 option poll, but sadly Twitter just do not allow it. In terms of what I voted for Anchorman, because I think it's just hilarious. I absolutely love Will Ferrell. Steve Carell was incredible in that film, alongside the likes of Christina Applegate and just Paul Rudd and a whole host of other people. It's an incredible film, an incredibly crafted comedy. I go back and watch it time and again. I love the sequel. It's just Stay Classy San Diego and stuff like that. Just an immensely quotable film with some great performances, brilliant chemistry between the news crew. But certainly the other films as well were all fantastic. It was a very hard decision to make. Step Brothers is, again, Will Ferrell in a completely different role, starring alongside John C. Reilly. Sadly, those two haven't been together since that role, but they're set to be in a Sherlock Holmes, I think it's Holmes and Watson film coming out very shortly, so I'll be keeping an eye on that. Again, incredible cast, an incredible comedy, very, very funny, hilarious, some of the stuff they got up to. Superbad, utterly outstanding film as well, one of my favourite comedies from the 2000s. Anything that's got Seth Rogen in it is a winner for me. Of course, he plays a kind of he's not the main role in it, he plays a copper, a stoner cop. What else is he going to play? He's a stoner in real life, let's be honest. But again, you look at the cast, Emma Stone, Seth Rogen, Bill Hader, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Michael Cera, Jonah Hill. Standout performance in this would probably be Christopher Mintz-Plasse as Foggle, just for the McLovin ID card moment. But again, it's just a hilarious, very well crafted, funny film from Greg Mottola. And last but not least, you've got the 40-Year-Old Virgin in there as well, which did well. It came in 3rd place. But of course, the films starring Steve Carell, Paul Rudd, Seth Rogen, Elizabeth Banks, a whole host of other people. Incredibly funny film as well from the mid-2000s. And all in all, it was a great poll. 4 very different films, very different comedies, very American-centric. Got some criticism for that, but hey-ho, can't please everyone. I voted for Anchorman. It was a close decision between that and Superbad. And we just, again, like to thank people for getting involved in this little weekly poll that we do. I digress, that brings me to the end of this week's episode of Movie Burner News. I'd just like to thank you for listening once again, and I'll be back tomorrow with the Movie Burner blog rundown.
Remember guys, if you enjoyed that episode, then do hit that like button, comment below, and maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. If you want to follow us on social media for all the latest updates from Movie Burner Entertainment, then we can be found on Twitter and Facebook at Movie Burners. You can also listen to us on Google Play and iTunes at the Movie Burner Podcast. And last but not least, if you want to access all the latest written reviews and the occasional article, then that can be found on our website at movieburnerentertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.